Welcome back to Beginner Miniatures. Today I'm painting Batman from the Batman Miniatures game by Night Models. I began by priming him with black so I could work up some very dark undertones so he would look very shadowed because the entire game takes place at night, so I want to have some really deep shadows. For the blue, I just laid out a nice range from a very, very dark blue to up to a very light blue on my palette and mixed retarder into all of it so it would dry slower. And then I began wet blending it, starting from all the darkest recesses with the darker colors and adding on lighter colors and then smoothing out the transitions in between to get a really nice and highlighted cape that really flowed and looked smooth. And after the base layer had dried, I went back over it again with some of the same colors and started highlighting up all my edges and blending it in so that way all my transitions would be even smoother, as well as working up to an even brighter blue on all of the sharpest points and the spots which would catch the most light to bring it a final highlight. At this stage, before I finished up the entirety of the blue, I started working in on his eyes, and I just came in with some white, and then I pushed it back down with the surrounding blue tone, with actually a fairly dark blue to make them look nice and recessed, and then some sharper blue on all the edges. And then again, I just came over all of the blue areas again with some more blue, just pushing some final highlights, bringing up the contrast, and smoothing everything out a little bit here just to finish it off. Then I went ahead and base coated the tiny bit of face he had showing with a fairly light and pale skin tone, and then I took a red wash and went over that entire thing to darken all the recesses and give it a little life. And then I also came in with a blue wash and darkened down some of the areas which the skin shouldn't look quite as warm with some blue wash, so it would be a little bit more on the cooler side. And to finish off the skin, I came back in with the base tone, layered it on top of some of the raised areas, and then just increased the amount of white in that base tone to get some highlights on the little bits of skin. Then to move on to the rest of his suit, I base coated everything in black that I had gotten any blue onto it, and then I came in with a very dark gray and went over everything except for the darkest recesses, leaving those pure black. And then after I had finished with the dark gray, I just mixed up a lighter gray and went over a smaller area and just kept repeating on doing that until I got it nice and highlighted the whole way out. Now here I'm working on his batarang and his bat crest on his symbol. And for those, I just went from a complete black base coat and then dry brushed a little white on top of it to highlight the edges and make it look really shiny and sharp. Then I base coated his belt with some very dark yellowish ochre color mixed with some black as the base color. Then to give some increased contrast to his belt, I went over it with a black wash. Then it was back to the ochre base color to start highlighting it up, and then I also mixed in some white into that to bring it up even brighter for a final highlight. At this point, Batman was done and I just needed to work onto his base, so I began by dry brushing it with some brown. And then I took a medium gray and dry brushed over all of the rocks on the base as well. And then here I'm just painting over the leaf that's sitting there with a little bit more of a yellowish brown. Then I went ahead with a dark brown wash across the entire base. Then after that wash had dried, I went over everything except for the rocks with the cork brown dry brushing, and then I cleaned up the base room with some black where the wash had stained it. Then I took him outside and sprayed him with some dull coat to protect him as well as to remove the sheen from some of the washes, and then he was done. I'm really happy with how this guy turned out. I put a lot of work into him and I think he's the best miniature I've painted. If you enjoyed watching, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.